Hi folks, I want to share how I created OpenSBP, that is the ShopBot part, files from FreeCAD directly to cut on the ShopBot that is at MakerNexus in Sunnyvale, California. MakerNexus is a co-working makerspace, shared makerspace that I'm a member of. I'm a fairly new member at this point, so my familiarity with CNC machining or the tools in general is pretty rudimentary. But I figured that rather than rely on having to export toolpaths through the Vectric vCarve program on the one computer at MakerNexus, it would be great if I could export those toolpaths from FreeCAD, which is the software program I use for most of my CAD design. Um, and I just had success doing some very basic cuts that I exported from FreeCAD today earlier. So I thought I'd record a video documenting my process before I forgot how to do it. So FreeCAD is awesome for free software, but obviously it falls short of more commercial uh, and sophisticated CAD programs that I've never had the opportunity to use. I'm told that Onshape and Fusion 360 are both way better in terms of user interface, but I'm happy with FreeCAD. Yes, it takes time to get stuff done, and sometimes you have to go back and forth and reiterate, and there are bugs, but I live with it. So I'm gonna create a really simple part that I cut earlier today, which is um, two squares that are, I don't know, concentric, if I may say that. So it's a square piece with a slot in it. So I'm going to set that up here as a sketch. There are plenty of tutorials on how to use FreeCAD on YouTube, and that's how I picked up all the FreeCAD I know. So I'm going to make this dimension 1.5 inch and this dimension 2.5 inch, simply because I don't want to waste a lot of wood. And the wood that I used to cut this is 23/32 oriented strand board, so just something really cheap. The trade dimension, I guess, is 3/4, but the actual dimension is 23/32, so I'm using the actual dimension here. So I created this extrusion, so this is the part that I actually want to cut. So then I go to the cam workbench. Earlier, I think this was called the path workbench, but in the newer version of FreeCAD that I'm using, 1.0.1, it's called the cam workbench. Much better name. And I'm going to create a new cam job by clicking this button here. And I'm going to make sure that the body that I created is selected. Okay, so there we go. Now, I picked this portion up as well from a bunch of YouTube tutorials, but I want to emphasize a few changes that are specific to the ShopBot at MakerNexus or also to other ShopBots. I think most of what I say will apply to any ShopBot that uses inches in America, but I'm not an expert on CNC machining, so I can tell you what worked at MakerNexus. And what I would recommend is, because the ShopBot in MakerNexus has its origins set pretty much on the actual edge as it should be. If you actually cut this profile on the while placing it on the origin, then it's going to run into your end mill is going to cut into the wood that is used as the stop block. So you actually want your part to be a few inches away from the origin, or at least half an inch or a 3/4 inch away from the origin. I like to use about an inch to be sure, right? So I'm going to pad the actual part that I want to cut by about an inch in both the X and Y directions, but have no padding in the Z direction. This way, what happens is if the ShopBot's origin is right here, that'll still give me enough clearance so that my end mill can go and profile this without bumping into the edge stops, right? So this outer boundary, which is the stock layout, that represents the piece of wood that I'm cutting in. You could, in principle, of course, make this. This dimension doesn't matter, or the dimension that I'm going to make away from the origin doesn't really matter. Next, I want to set the origin. I want to keep these axes as they are, so I want to set the origin here so that it matches the conventions that we use at MakerNexus and also the convention used by Vectric, VCarve, right? So I picked this vertex at this corner and I'm clicking set origin. So now that's my origin. And to visualize it as it is placed on the ShopBot table, I'm going to sort of rotate this so that can I use my usual rotation? Yeah, that's much easier. This is, I think, shift and drag, right click drag to rotate, and control right click drag to pan. That's a nice FreeCAD way of rotating and panning. So I want to see the part this way, right? Because this is how the ShopBot cuts. The y-axis increasing is in this dimension, assuming you're facing the router, and the x-axis increasing is this way. So you can pick and set the axes. It's a little counterintuitive, but you can actually do that as well. Since this part is symmetric, I didn't care. You can also change the placement of the part, the stock with respect to the origin. I'm going to leave it as is because I don't want to muck around with the relative orientation of the stock and the origin. I've just accounted for the fact that the part will lie away from the origin by extending the stock. So you can, if you feel that you don't want to, you've set up everything and you just want to move it, move the origin, you can also do this. Okay, so that's the first pane. Oops, I accidentally scrolled on that and change the numbers. Okay, so that's the first pane. Now I want to go set the output. I'm going to enter an output file, file path here, ShopBot test.sbp. Okay, and here I want to pick OpenSBP as my processor and add the argument -- inches. So we want the output to have inches because that's what the ShopBot is configured to use. Now if you omit this argument, it's going to emit numbers in millimeters in the SBP code, and the ShopBot will cut those in inches. So you're going to have everything scaled up by 25.4, which is really horrible, and especially the z-axis. So you really want -- inches here. And I left the coordinate system at G54, which was the default. I don't know if that matters, but yeah, I just left it as it is, and it worked. So we finished the setup part. Now coming to tools, if you just look at the library of tools available in FreeCAD, the default set of tools, it's going to be very limited. You want to define your own tools, and it is a nightmare to define your own tools compared to VCarve. I mean, it's a much more complicated process. But that being said, I'll go over how I created this tool later. Now I created this end mill. This is the end mill I'm using, Whiteside Manufacturing's RU2100 carbide. It cost about $22 on Amazon, but yeah, I'm going to use that end mill instead. So I'm going to remove this tool and keep my end mill here. So that's tools, work plan. As we add our profile paths, they'll appear here. I haven't mucked around with the op defaults at all. That there's a bunch of things you can configure there. But yeah, let's just check our job configuration. So this looks fine. Here, the inches and the OpenSBP processor, and the stock and the origin setup, and then my end mill, and empty work plan as of now, and I'll leave this as is. Okay, so I'll click OK now. So now I need to add the toolpaths. To add the toolpaths, I want to cut on the outside here and then cut on the inside here. Those are profile toolpaths. They're called the same here, thankfully, as they are in Vectric. So I'm just going to select all of these faces by holding down the control key and selecting them. Okay, and then I'm going to add a profile toolpath. Here are all the toolpaths: profile, pocket, drilling, etc. So I'm going to take the profile toolpath. Now, yeah, there's my end mill. That's fine. Coolant is irrelevant here because we don't have a cooling mechanism. The cut side, I want it to cut on the outside here, right? Because I want the tool to go out there. I want this part to dimension. Now this direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, sets whether it's a climb or a conventional cut. I never quite figured out how to exactly set this, like intuit this, but we are going to set it later, like after we see the toolpaths. I think clockwise does give you a climb cut. And we don't need an extra offset. That tells you how far the toolpath is offset from the edge of this, so the cutting edge. If you wanted to do like multiple passes and a finishing pass, which I also tried, then you want one of the paths to be offset. You want your roughing path to be offset. Interestingly, there's no on option like vCarve has, and I don't know why. I guess yeah, I just don't know why there is no on option. It could have as well been there, but yeah, we're gonna cut outside. I've left all of these as default, and I don't know what exactly they do yet. Okay, so let's hit OK. So now we have a toolpath. So you can see this is the air pass. The tool is going to go there and then go around like this and take three cuts. Now, one of the things I do want to change, sorry, not there, in operations profile, one of the things I want to change is, let's go through all of these tabs. Okay, of course, here are the 4 faces that I need to profile there. And here's the interesting part. So this is my start depth, which is fine. That is 2330 seconds. This is my final depth, which is also fine. That's 0 inch. But you see the default behavior here is that it will step down equal to the end mill diameter. Generally, people prefer the plunging operation to be lighter than the end mill diameter. It's too hard on the end mill if you step an entire diameter down. So this is actually set as a formula from a set of parameters. So you see it's just using the tool diameter, but I'd rather divide it by 2, so I get half the tool diameter as the step down. So if I hit apply now, you see that the number of lines there increased. So it's actually going to do more passes, taking a smaller depth at each pass, which is much nicer on my end mill. I don't exactly know what the safe height and clearance height do, but I left them at the default and they were fine. So here I'm going to hit OK. So this is my first tool path, which is going to cut the outside. I'm going to make sure now that this is a climb cut as I want it to be with the CNC. Is it a climb cut? No. We are going, the end mill is going to be turning clockwise, and we are, this always trips me. No, this is a conventional cut. I want it to be a climb cut. So I'm going to go back and change it to the other settings. So now when I see the toolpaths end mill spinning clockwise, this is the way the end mill will spin. So it now is a climb cut, right? So that's that. Now I want to profile the other set of faces. So here I select these 4 faces. Maybe there's a faster way of doing this that I haven't yet figured out, but this is what I've been doing. Okay, so I selected all 4 faces. Now I'm going to create another profile toolpath. Check that I selected those 4 faces. Pardon me, that's fine. Again, I want to step down half the tool diameter instead of the full tool diameter. Heights are fine. Now I actually do want to cut inside and not outside. I'm using the same end mill. And we'll check if this makes sense in a moment. So I just left it at its default. So let's see, is this a climb cut? Yes, it is a climb cut. This is cutting in the same direction as the end mill. So this looks fine to me. Okay, so there you go. So I have now my profile toolpaths defined. I do want to add tabs. They are called tags in FreeCAD, the same thing that's called tabs in Vectric. And I think by default, FreeCAD will give you a 3-dimensional tag that's inclined at 45 degrees. That's a triangle shape. And let's add those. So to do that, you just right click on the toolpath and say tag. And it gives you these options. I just left it at the default. Like, it also put 4 tags. You can muck around with these settings. So this is what your tags will look like. So you can just say okay. Similarly here, I'm going to run tags on that toolpath, and looks fine. I once had it place tags really weird on the inner one. So you see on the inner one, it still did that. I don't know why it does that. It has now 2 tags on the same surface. I don't know what logic it used to figure that out. But I'll leave it as this. It might take some experimentation to find out how you want to place these tags correctly. They probably don't matter that much unless you're cutting oriented strand board. So my tags inside actually broke off because the wood itself is like of really poor quality. You can also add a ramp. I haven't looked into the details. I did notice that it ramped the entry of the end mill as going in. I don't know if this is exactly the sort of ramping I want. I really wanted it to like lead in. So I think there is also a lead in option that you can use to say, okay, I want to lead in. I haven't tried this yet. But yeah, so you can choose how you plunge. Yeah, I guess it this time it created some sort of lead in plunge. I haven't vetted the lead in, so I'm going to remove that and just use a ramp plunge. Can I just do delete? Will that work? Yes, I think that worked. So I got back my old toolpath with just the tags, and I'm going to add a ramp entry. Okay, so now here I have my toolpaths ready to be exported. So I go to job and I click this button, which is post-process. That's what's supposed to export my toolpaths. Now there's a really weird bug in my version of FreeCAD that I don't understand. This is supposed to be written to a file. But if you remember, I asked it to write it to this location. But if I actually go and see if it generated that file, weird characters from copy paste. Okay. Yeah, it actually never wrote that file, and I don't know why it's doing that. But the good news is when I hit that post process, this code is actually the same code that it that it writes to the file. It's showing it to me, but it never wrote it to the file. I don't know why. So I just copied this and opened a text editor and just wrote this file down. And yeah, this worked for me. Now, so I'm gonna save this as the specific toolpath that I wanted. ShopBot test.sbp. So yeah, now there's a little bit more of work, which is that I really like having the safety mechanisms that MakerNexus has added in the post processor to Vectric. So I will go ahead and add those things presently. Okay, so here I've opened a piece of code generated by Vectric vCarve Pro at MakerNexus. So here is the post processor that we have there that generates the preamble that does the standard the unit check and the auto Z0, and then the reminder to start the spindle after the Z0. So I really like having that. So I'm going to copy that bit of code and so I'm going to add it to the top of this code that was exported by FreeCAD. So this verifies that you know, I expect the ShopBot to be set in inches. I suspect that this is checking a register, right? And if it does not check, again, if this is in inches, what I'm doing is I'm just looking at these numbers and saying, you know, I had a 1 inch offset from the edge of the stock and a 2.5 inch part. So if my numbers read 3.5, that is correct in inches. If I had accidentally forgotten the inches argument, then and exported in millimeters, I should have seen something that's 25 times that. So it does look like I've correctly exported in inches, right? So that's how I verify. Now I have to be very careful not to edit anything else here, because one small key press and it might send the ShopBot somewhere else. Just carefully copy paste this code and then save this. Now I just need to put this on a USB flash drive, and then I can go and cut it on the ShopBot. So here's the auto Z0 code, so you can comment it out if you're already auto zeroing through this different process. Yeah, so that's how I ran the tests using FreeCAD on the ShopBot at MakerNexus. Now, because I was nervous that this was generated by some convoluted way that was not vCarve, I did actually run an air pass without the end mill. So what I did was I did the 0Z with an end mill, because that does require conductivity of the end mill to zero on the plate. So, and after finishing the Z0, while it was on this pause, I quit the program, removed my end mill, so I'd have an inch. My end mill is an inch long, plus there's a little more shank left, right? So I removed the end mill and did not turn on the spindle, and commented out this portion of the code and reran this program, and that way I would see what it does without an end mill. And it, because my wood was only 23-30 seconds and the end mill shank would be more than an inch, I would not have the collet dragging on the wood, which is dangerous because the friction can create set the wood on fire, and also presumably damage the shop bot. So knowing that it would never plunge deep enough to cause a collision, I just ran the code without the spindle, without an end mill, and saw that it was going in the right directions. Because if I forgot to set my x-axis correctly, or forgot to set my origin correctly, or forgot the hyphen inches argument, then I would have something totally wrong happen. So I was holding the emergency stop. I mean, if you're confident in what you're doing, I think you'd be fine without doing that. But I had to do it just for my own comfort, and then everything ran smoothly. And then I redid the entire process, putting the end mill in. So there you go. That's it. Hope some of you try this and have success with it. Thanks for watching.